Yo. Told y'all I was gonna be getting back at y'all. So, with this good old 4th of July coming, I'm still on the issue of the Founding Fathers. I was addressing, I've been addressing that issue. Oh, I was addressing that issue the last time. And how I feel that a lot of their ideology still affects us to this day. You know what I'm saying? Um, so I decided to dig in, a different way. So I decided to go back and inform myself a little bit more about a couple different individuals. So I started with their numero uno, their commander in chief, General George Washington. Reading about, George Washington, he was a general for the Revolutionary War. He was the general who gained the freedom for the Union from Britain, So we really gotta think about that. Free from what? Yeah, free from Britain. Free to now we can go over to somebody else's countries and kidnap people and have them work for us and be slaves for hundreds of years. Yeah, I mean, what did that really mean to us today? You know what I'm saying? That's how I really feel about that. But so digging in, I found a couple interesting facts about General George Washington, first president of the United States. George Washington, he's one of the first families of Virginia, and his ancestors actually were some of the first colonizers of the United States. You know what I'm saying? So he's from basically a real political family. Basically, it just dwindled on. Like I said, I had a hypothesis that they were the people that were still in power now, which is still dwindling on now to them by different names. But so digging in, I find out basically I was looking at some of their stance on slavery. So anyway, George Washington, he became a slave owner when he was 11 years old after his father died. After his father passed away, that was, his inheritance. So he had inherited slaves at the age of 11. Anyway, he went on to be, the general. So he wound up marrying Martha Curtis Washington. When he married her, she was recently a divorced widow. She had kids. Her husband has died. Daniel Parker Curtis, he had passed away. So when he married her, she came with a pretty good dowry. He was from a wealthy family, and she was from a pretty wealthy family also. So when he married her, she came with a pretty good dowry. So, but when basically by the time George Washington had passed away, they owned 315 slaves. But anyway, so Martha's 4 kids wound up passing away. So George, again, he stepped in and he adopted her grandchildren, George Washington Curtis Parks, and his sister Nellie. So they raised them. So George Washington Curtis Park is basically now if not put down in history, but the history is starting to unravel that he was actually the father of 2 different enslaved women children besides his own daughter Mary that he had to. So what happened was after George Washington and his wife passed away, the 4 kids, her 4 grandkids inherited their land, Mount Vernon and different parts of their land or whatever. Well, not even Mount Vernon, sorry, correction. He couldn't inherit Mount Vernon because that was the Washington's family land. So George Washington's nephew actually inherited that. But hey, that's another story. But anyway, so they did inherit some of the land that was owned by Martha Curtis Washington. So they inherited a lot of land. So he wound up inheriting the land where he actually built Alderson House. Alderson House is a house that he built honoring, George Washington. So he built this land honoring George Washington, and his daughter Mary and him all lived there. So pretty much after Murray's husband wound up being Robert E. Lee, which was a person that actually played this house with her. They planted trees in this house. I mean, he's been coming to this house since they were little. He actually was distant cousins with her 3rd cousins or whatever. So she married the Confederate general, Robert E. Lee. I mean, he wasn't always the Confederate general. He was a general soldier for, I think, 3 decades. Then he decided to go fight for the Confederate. So he became the Confederate Union. They wound up seizing their house. And the odd part about when they left, when they did leave their house, they left their house and they left slaves apart. They left slaves in charge. And the funny part about that whole scenario is this: if Miss Gray didn't go up to the Union soldiers and tell them that they were destroying America's history, that half of the artifacts that they have on the Washington family would not even be available right now. So shout out to her. You know what I'm saying? So basically, saying all that, the Washington family has a kind of, I guess we would have to say, twisted history with slavery, you know, because George Washington wanted all his slaves free, the ones that he owned, the 123 he actually owned, not all the ones with his wife, but he wanted his free at when his wife passed away. And that pretty much didn't happen. Only one person became free. His name was Wilson, I do believe. So basically, after George Washington Curtis, the son, had passed away, he said that he wanted, you know, his slaves free within the 5 years. So that did happen. His daughter did see that happened, you know, but that still really did. His daughter really didn't see. That fell into the time during basically the Civil War and them seizing the Arlington house and turning it into a cemetery. But anyway, said all this to say, people try to avoid the history of the importance, or downplay the history of importance of black people in America. America honestly was built on these black people backs, and it was built on the ideology that black people were just not better than other people. I mean, to the point that, like I even say, just to string back a little bit, the Arlington house was built by slaves that didn't even have any architectural skills. So however they downplayed us, they still relied on us. And see, that's the thing that I'm trying to get us to understand now. We still hold all the power. We just gotta act like we know we have the power. We have the power of the people. We just have to act on the power and have to stand for something, and constantly stand for something. Like I say though, man, please stay alert, because there's so many things going on out here that has just been twisted since the beginning of time, and it has no other choice but to keep on being twisted. For real, stay alert.